Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's Cogno Hour. This is like a Halloween Cogno Hour. Tomorrow night's Halloween. So we're doing something we've never done before. And I'm only seeing you, Leah. Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I pinned myself because I was doing the intro, but go ahead, you're good.
okay. So what we're doing tonight is something we've never done before. And that is letting you in on one of our Cognomovement practitioner calls. So what happens in a practitioner call, one of our training calls every month, or two a month, is that our practitioners share some amazing things that happen. They talk about what's going on with their clients, whether they need help with something or a miracle that just happened. So Miriam Kutelis and Cora Buchanan have joined us tonight to share some of those things. The other thing that Bill and I are going to do tonight is we're actually going to teach you something that only our practitioners know, something that you actually learn pretty early on in the program, but is actually life changing for many of us. And I'm also going to share my personal story with this life changing skill. It's a little different because it's not actually a session, it's one of our lessons. So we'll share that with you tonight as well. So, hey, Bill McKenna, you're here. You're muted.
Hi, hi there. Uh, I've been unmuzzled. Hi everybody. Before we did this today, Liz and myself were talking, and we thought of what would be real value, and later on in this hour, what Liz is going to reveal is simply life altering. The practitioners know this, and because of that, their relationships naturally changes, their business changes, how everyone relates to them is completely different, and it's so simple. You guys are going to love it. So we're looking forward to sharing that secret with you. I believe the first topic of today is to talk to some of our practitioners and what they have gotten out of personally, what it's meant to them to become a practitioner.
Yeah, actually, Leah had some things she was going to share with us first. We preempted her. So, Lee, go ahead. Are you
That's
there?
okay, you guys. You guys pretty much said everything I was gonna say. I just, wanted to welcome everybody and tell them that it's gonna be a really, really special Cogno Hour, which I feel like we say every single time, but I promise you this one is really gonna be cool and something we don't normally do. And just about our practitioners, they really are the modern day miracle workers. And they are doing the craziest, the coolest things on a daily basis. And so you're going to hear those stories firsthand, and they'll talk about their transformations and all the other things that Liz said. So, yeah, take it away, guys.
Hey, Leah, did you get my message about Beverly? She's trying to get in and can't. Okay, so let's bring Coral on right away. Can you put all three of us on, Lee? Hey, Coral. So Coral is one of our most advanced practitioners. She's officially a level 2, but she's beyond that. She's one of our mentors. She helps us with Cogno Conscious every year, and helps people in these massive transformations. So thanks for being with us tonight, Coral.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime I can hang with you guys, I'm here.
It's so funny. Practitioner training becomes a lot like family to us, doesn't it?
100%. It is because we get to share, like you were saying, these amazing stories, but with people who understand. And we can tell our family members and all these other people, and they go, "Wow, okay," or they listen. But when we meet, it is definitely like a family. We definitely we just get it. We get it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things we hear, especially from our new practitioners, that it feels like home. Was that your experience too?
Yes, yes, it's the home I've been looking for. And then I've been able to create home in myself because of it. And now I'm home wherever I'm at. And so it absolutely.
Well, maybe start there, about personal transformation. So that's a big thing that happens when people join the program is they change themselves. I know that's true for me, as well daily. So how do you feel like you transformed from the beginning, from when you first became a practitioner way back in the day to now?
Yeah, I mean, uh, I've said my story many times, but just basically going from wishing and wanting and hoping and trying to read million self-help books and start little practices that last for a week and then you forget them and you don't go back to it, to having this powerful tool that literally changes every single time you do it, and it changes tangibly. And because of the way I am wired, or we're all wired, but for me, I needed something to bring me in my body. And so holding on to a ball and then moving it and saying the colors like got me out of the head so much. And what has transformed in my life is my relationship 100% with myself is night and day different. Because before it was always trying to escape or fight who and what was going on with me at that time, where now it's a collaboration. It's like, oh, I can work with my body, I can work with my mind, I can work with my spirit, and we can make them all intertwined to be this whole thing, this whole experience on this earth that I am now becoming. Always, it's the work never ends, but it's just such a different level of awareness and richness. And all of my relationships have changed across the board. My environment outside of me has changed. My confidence has changed. My ability to relate to others and work with others has changed, all for a way of just moving through this world with a knowing instead of grasping and hoping and wishing. So yeah.
What is tell us now you have kids, and tell us about your relationship with your kids before you came and then now.
Right. So when I started Cognomovement was 5 years ago. So one of them would have been 11 and the other one would be 9.5. And that point in their lives, so before that, I was a stay-at-home mom at that time, before then, but for some reason around that 9, 10 age level, I switched and I was in a depression, I was in all kinds of things. And so I actually started to distance myself. I was still mom, still present, doing the things that you do. I did all that, but there was this, I needed a break mentality, and I did. But now where I'm at, I'm working on the nurturing aspect of myself and my relationship with my kids. We have a good time. We laugh. Before they would rather have spent time with their dad, or you know what I mean, because he was the fun guy and I'm the one who cooks and cleans and says you got to do this, where now we both get to do that for our kids. And I just hung out with my daughter today. We went and had lunch and she's telling me all about this guy she's talking to, and it's just like we're talking like and so that wasn't something in the past. And of course it's all to do with age as well. I mean, my daughter is now 16, and so the maturity is different, but that I don't think that would have been if I had not done all this Cognomovement. And I continue to do it. But I will tell you, the biggest recent session I've had that and I'm not going to get to, because I mean, it's very personal, but I actually took through that I am abandoned. I'm abandoned. Not that I was abandoned. I'm abandoned. And literally this half and this side of my body there was no feeling here. It was a void. And after I did that session and I brought that piece of the puzzle back in, since then, my kids have changed. Like the things that they're doing, the people that they're associating with, like are more wholesome and healthy, where they weren't off the rails, but I'm like, whoa. And I know it was that session. I know that when mom is embodied, when mom is not feeling abandoned because of all whatever, they are not. They have permission to not be.
Okay, so that is one of the insider secrets, right? Of being a Cognomovement practitioner and Cognomovement in general, right? That when you change you, the people in your life change.
Yeah.
Yeah? Tell us a
100%.
little bit about that for you.
It is a secret. It's like, oh, really? You're gonna do that? Okay. Well, you can do that, but it won't bother me anymore. And then all of a sudden it changes. Like, I have so many examples, and they're not. I mean, I don't know. I'm off in the weeds all the time. But one thing. Okay, what is something that I have? Well, that the void thing. I don't really know. What
Yeah.
else has really changed that?
But well, actually, that's a huge one with your kids, with your relationships in your own house. Like when someone drives you nuts, Cognomovement practitioners know we work on ourselves.
Yes.
And then that thing sorts it out. And I want to say for you, you have teenage humans in your reality. That can be real rocky, real rough.
It
And
was before, and it was
Yeah.
kind of, now it's not.
Yeah.
I spent a weekend I took my son to some event, and he goes, "We make a good duo, Mom." That wouldn't have been said before. And so it's really the rich. I'm gonna cry. You make me cry every dang time. So it's really. I do say this, and I know it's Cynthia Sue Larson is like, how does my life get any better than this?
Yeah,
I say it a lot, and that wasn't something in the past.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a big thing, and there's a big reason that we do this in Cognomovement, that we work on ourselves when someone else is driving us nuts. And as moms and dads, whoever's out there, sometimes your kids drive you nuts, or they get in a habit, or you get in this place with them where it's almost an ongoing battle. I've worked with people, you can see them like as soon as their kid hits 10 or 11, there's this fight going on. Clean things up, do this, do that. Bill has a really fun story about that. Can you tell that real briefly, Bill, about the lady who worked herself around her son living with her grown son?
Oh my gosh. There was, this is funny. She comes in and she is just had it. Her son has moved in. He's in his 30s, right? And she is.
Bill, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you turn down your mic just a little bit? You're
echoing.
Okay. How is that? How's that? Is that better?
One click more.
A little bit more.
How's that? Is that better?
Better. Yeah, that's better.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So this she's maybe in her 50s or something, and I don't know how, something like that. And her son comes back and moves into the house in his 30s. And he is, he's like, I forget that movie Will Ferrell was in, hey, Mom, more meatballs. Yeah, Step Brothers, that movie. And he will not clean his room. He will not let her into the room to clean it. And it's disgusting. And anyway, she is so frustrated. She wants him out of the house, but he's like that, not working, whatever. And anyway, we're in the session, and we do the session, and we break for lunch, and we're gonna have lunch, and the feeling comes up through her and out, of like, God, I can't, this kid, I just got to get him out of here. It's ridiculous that it's not healthy. The room's gross, clothes are piled up. During the break, the phone rings, her cell phone, and she, excuse me, I got to take this. Goes outside, and she comes back in, and she says, sits down. She goes, "You ain't gonna believe this." That was him. And he called, and he said, "Mom, I don't want you to be upset because it's really dirty here. I opened up my room and I'm pulling everything out into the hallway and I'm cleaning everything, but it's really a mess as I'm cleaning. But I got the washer machine going, I got everything going, and everything's out of the room and I'm throwing away stuff. But don't be upset when you get home. I'm hoping to get it done. Anyway, she was just absolutely in shock. But it was that quantum effect. You know, there is a quantum, we call it the Cognomovement quantum relationship effect. It's a very real thing.
Yeah. So Coral, you wanted to share a story tonight. So guys, this is exactly what happens in training about, it's one of your mentees, right? Is that the session?
Right. And can we bring her on as well? Caitlin is here. If
Yeah, do you want to
Caitlin's not-
just put them on together and you can take Bill and I off for now?
And yeah, we'll just, it's a quick story.
Oh, how cool. I didn't expect that. I love this. Thank you.
So a backstory.
Her.
Caitlin is just joined as a new practitioner in training. And so we will do a series of trades with each other. So I will do a session for her. She will do one for me. And so we didn't know what we're going to work on, but 2 weeks ago now, I gave a session to Caitlin, and Caitlin had just had, take it away, Caitlin.
So I had just had a big fall going down a mountain, and I had a race coming up 1 week later, and it was a bad fall. So my knee was super swollen, like a ligament was coming out of my hand. It was pretty gnarly. Do you want me to just kind of go with what happened?
So then you were injured, and then we did the session, and we found the running fear. Yeah, we worked on the fear of because there's trepidation now. She has been running, you've been trail running for a long time, but this race now was no longer like exciting.
Yes. So, and actually none of my races were. So when I started running 2 years ago, I thought for certain, like I was going to get to a race and I was going to feel the excitement and it was going to be the most fun and free. And actually what would happen is like my body would be so heavy and I couldn't like hardly run. It felt like I couldn't breathe. It was always like a really difficult experience. It wasn't like the whole race vibe that everybody gets. So we ended up uncovering a story of when I was 4 years old, of like trying to prove myself to like a group of friends so I would be accepted. And it was just running around a block. Nothing traumatic happened, but it kept my nervous system so locked up that every time I would run, my body felt like it was full of sand, and it just felt like I was like trying to run through like water, run through mud. Like everything was so heavy. It was so much effort. And then after my session with Coral, I ended up losing 9 pounds of inflammation total within 2 days. So that was really great to lose so much inflammation. But then I ended up running this race. I was pacing my husband and I ran it for 20 miles. My body held up, but it was the most energetic I had ever felt running. Like I felt like I was flying. It was such a different experience. And then I was like, well, maybe that was just because I was really excited for my husband. I was running with him at night. So maybe I just had more adrenaline. And then I run daily, and all of my runs since then are the exact same. In fact, my pace is so much faster. Like my pace is like minutes faster. And the first day that I ran after the race, I came home and I was just sobbing, like totally sobbing. And I was like, this is the first time in my entire life I've been able to run without feeling like I'm fighting my body. Like my body was trying to hold me back the whole time. And now it's not. And now I do feel like I'm flying. And now it's like, this is what running's supposed to feel like.
That is an amazing thing. And I just want to add that, that's one of the things that cognitive movement practitioners learn how to do is work with athletes. So this is a classic athlete story, isn't it, Coral?
Oh, yes. Yes, for sure. And just a gift, as a gift for her and for myself to experience this. Every session is, but it's just wow.
Well, and it's a story of a combo pack because there's an injury, which a lot of athletes have, which was resolved. 9 pounds of inflammation. That's huge. Who even hears of anything like that? and then actually the enhanced athletic performance because of it. A lot of times it's not just the injury, but there is an emotional aspect. So I will let you guys go, but I have a question for each of you. First of all, Caitlin, how beneficial has it been for you to have a practitioner mentor since you came in?
Oh, life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. And I actually just told my husband before I got on here because I was so nervous to do the practitioner training because of the investment. And that I signed up 4 weeks ago, and I have had my biggest month by far in my business since signing up. Like by far, like
Wow.
by.
Yeah. And Cora, before I let you go, I'm going to totally put you on the spot here, but do you remember what was your first thing that felt like magic that you could do when you learned cognitive movement?
Yeah, and that is, I've told this story too, but it's the spider story with my son. And it was just, he had an intense fear of spiders beyond, and he was 9, like I said, or whatever. And if a spider were in the room, he's out. And he spent the night in the tent after we did the session, because I'm like, I'll try it out, whatever, feel it, feel it. And he spent the night in the tent that night. Next morning, woke up, spider on his hand. He unzipped the tent, flicked it out, ran in and told me, hey, Mom, that happened. And I'm all, oh, there's something here. And it's like unbelievable because he still has a healthy respect for spiders. We've never done another 6 session on it, and that was my very first session, really. But it changed everything. So yeah, it's magic. And I do want to say one more thing because I know we got to go because we're taking a lot of time. But the community of practitioners and Bill and Liz and Leah, to have people who are doing this work and understand it in the way that we understand it, and understand awareness the way we understand it, and to come together and to be in a community where you are not crazy and where you can just talk freely about all of this stuff is life-changing in itself. And I just wanted to highlight that. The community itself of practitioners and Bill, Liz, and Leah is something, they alluded to the family, but there is something to being able to share in a safe space that's magic itself. So just wanted to say that. So thank you so much for letting me talk.
Yeah, the story you shared about Caitlin with Caitlin is because, you give her a session because she's your mentee, but also, there's this rich tradition of trading sessions with all of the other practitioners.
Yes.
So for you, has that been huge to be able to reach out when you've got a problem and you've got
beyond huge? That is because it's essential, right? If you're learning this, but then you start to trade with others, and not only do you get to really know who you're trading, but we as practitioners, you're going deep. And so when we work with a practitioner, there's nothing like it. We do our dailies. I do my dailies. I do deep work on myself. But to have a practitioner help you and hold that space and pull that out, there's nothing like to be able to have access to that. And also one of the other, Tia, has become a lifelong friend of mine. We talk every single day, and we talk cogno. It's like, I took through this. Well, we're on WhatsApp, but she's in Australia, but it's like, I took through that, and we didn't realize, as this has been years, this is years of this, how powerful and how needed it was to be able to share just those little 3-minute blurbs and that sort of thing. And we are lifelong friends. We will be lifelong friends.
I think for most of us, that is the truth, having somebody to reach out and talk to about this kind of thing on a daily basis, because most of us, it's brimming up in us. We want to share this stuff. We want to talk about the weirdness, and to have people who are just like a phone call, a text, a WhatsApp away. It's incredible. It's an incredible thing.
No, I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much.
Would you hang out and be my victim for the lesson today? Do you have time?
Yeah, I know you'll put, whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you want, Liz, whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring up Miriam, and we'll bring Bill back on. And while we're bringing Miriam up, I want to say this, that the practitioner program is probably far greater, will you bring Bill, Leah, too, than our VIP sessions. So VIP sessions are things we are doing where we're working with people daily, where we're, they have a lot of access to us. But practitioners have more access to us, we work with them on their specific niches. If they can't solve a problem for themselves, we do that. If they're working with a special group of people like firefighters, or people who are neurodivergent, we work with them to create Cognomovement programs that match that niche. So I wouldn't you say, Bill, it's deeper than the VIP programs?
Well, we're together here, linked for the duration, the duration of this trip. We're out there, with our mutual aligned interest to help humanity.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, hey, this is Miriam Kutelis. Hey, Miriam, tell everybody where you are.
I am in Springfield, Virginia, and so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, and so Miriam also is a teacher, an art teacher, right?
I teach art full time. I teach art in Spanish. It's an immersion program. So I work with pre-K, K, second and fourth. Very exciting.
So this is an interesting way to use Cognomovement with you. Will you share with everybody a little bit about what you're doing with it in the classroom and what changes you've made with that?
With the kids who are in second and fourth grade, I do low to high. And we set an intention. So we talked about what an intention is, and we're really feeling an intention. At first, they had to just start with basic, like hold on to the ball. And I don't have an actual Cogno balls because I'm in a school with mostly Latino kids. I'm Latina, and they love soccer. And every time they see the Cogno ball, they say, "I like that soccer ball." So I can't, that's just a little too exciting. So I ended up going on Temu and ordering these squishy balls. And I knew that squishy balls, they like to hold on to them. They're not going to throw them. So it's about the size of your palm and they're very colorful. So it's like a mini Cogno ball and they won't throw it or they won't kick it. So everyone gets it. And if I throw it to them and hit them with it, they won't get hurt because they're really soft. So, and then we do low to high. And I started with them setting the intention, but that takes too long because they argue and I only have 45 minutes. So I ended up coming up with my own, intention. And it's usually about, being kind, we're creative, we're going to be amazing grown-ups, like whatever, just some kind of positive intention. And we talk about how it feels to really feel it. And then we emphasize some of the words as we're going up. And then I'm always checking to make sure their eyes are on the ball. And those are the 2 rules. Hands on the ball, eyes on the ball, keep your head straight. And then we're working on that. So with the kids who are younger, I have found some videos online that do a lot of crossover. I can share those with you guys if you want, but I found 4 that I do every single class. There's 2 that are 1 minute long, and then the other 2 are about 3 minutes each. So we're spending that amount of time doing crossover exercises. So these are 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. They're doing those songs. And it's interesting because all the adults are like, why don't you do different songs? But the kids there's a sense of, they just come in and they know what's expected and they know the words and they love being part of this like kind of flowing movement, which is not very common for 5-year-olds who have very hard time with, gross motor skills and stuff. And so it does mimic some of the the exercises are like, you go, touch your ear,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
they go, they go in,
So cool.
they do things, or they have to tap their knee. I'll share those videos on the practitioner site if you want.
So Miriam,
Yeah.
Miriam, this is so great. I love that you're helping the kids. Tell us about you.
Okay.
From before you started Cogno, and what things happened to you from doing the practitioner program?
Well, Cogno, I feel like found me because I'm a endurance hiker, and I think I told you guys this story, but I was hiking and I did one of your videos, and I just listened to things when I'm hiking for many hours, and I did one of your videos, and I kind of half. I called it half-halved it because I have kids and students. So I'm always saying half-ass instead of saying half-ass. So I half-halved it while I was walking and doing the eye movement so I don't trip. And I ended up manifesting art sales because I'm also an artist. And I thought to myself, okay, if I did this at home, you know, and I did it full, if I really get into it, I'm going to get home and I'm going to really do this. This is when I was convinced that there's something really special about Cogno. And I went ahead and did it. And within 2 weeks, I inherited quite a bit of money from a family that I had no idea was going to give me any money. No, like it was like I wasn't expecting it. It was nothing. It was just out of nowhere. So that was sort of my intro to Cogno. The Cogno movement found me, I feel like. So
Okay, so that is kind of a bit of magic. But once
yeah.
this is my last question for you, and then we'll move on to Kristen. So just so you know, Kristen, you're available. Um, what was the first thing that you could do that you did with Cogno Movement that felt like magic, like for someone else once you got in the program?
Well, I do a lot of, okay, well, I have a lot of my most recent one, I think. I thought like magic wise, I think it's just being able to change, like you said earlier, change other people. And I feel like it's like not just magic, I always feel like a witch.
For
Like,
yourself, you mean changing them like by changing you?
I
Is that what you mean?
change other people, like change, like I'm not a big fan of talk therapy. So you know, there's certain people that, you know, there's a lot of um uh history and it's almost like too much to go over. So sometimes you just I've done sessions on people like that I like there's just too much there. And it completely has shifted my relationship with those people to the point where um whatever I thought needed to be discussed is just dumb. You know, it's like water under the bridge. And that's how I felt like it was no longer in me. I didn't need to address that anymore. It's like a fresh new relationship without the need to really drudge out any kind of conversations. So yeah, so that's
Awesome.
sort of.
Thank you, Miriam. We're so happy to have
Thank
you be
you.
part of our family.
Thank you, Miriam.
Yeah, anybody who's watching, Leah, if you'll bring Kristen on. Miriam and Coral, they are both available to do sessions, I believe. You're working with people via Zoom and in person. So their information is in the chat. You can find it there. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, good to see you all.
Yeah, you too. So Kristen's out of Florida and one of our newest certified pracs, but she's been working for a bit. And so do you have a magic story you want to tell everybody?
So my first practice session, so how amazing the training is, first of all, is magic can happen right away. It's wild. I was just nervous and I was like, I asked a friend of mine who actually I picked up from the ER. He is 87, lost his wife last year. And I was in the ER with him. He thought he had just pneumonia. And the doctor came in while I was there and said, I'm so sorry, but we looked at the scans and you have 2 tumors the size of pears on your lungs and you're going to have to get surgery. And he goes, I am so old, I'm not going to survive this. And I sat there and all of a sudden I got this like intuitive hit going, maybe see if he wants to be a guinea pig for Cogno. You need someone to work on for Cogno. Why don't you ask him? And I said, hey, do you mind? And he goes, you know what? Anything. I'm willing to try anything. So we worked on the grief of losing his wife. And so we did 4 sessions. So 1 session a week. And he went back to get his scans done for his pre-op. And when he got there, the doctor asked him to sit down and said, I don't know how to say this, but the tumors are gone. And he goes, what? They stopped growing? He said, no, they're gone. And he said, how? He goes, I don't know. You're going to have to ask someone who knows more than I do. And the fact that he was able to process the emotion of grief through his body and allow his body to heal itself, it is just so beautiful to show the power of our mind, our emotions, and what our body is capable of. And when that happened, I was flying high going, wow. I was like, I'm not going to lose him, like, yes, awesome. He's still around. But to see his life change over that period of time, even more and greater life coming into him was just so profound and beautiful that there's nothing that can take place of that feeling of knowing that you were able to be there, hold space, help them process something that he was crying every day. And now he's living in joy.
Yeah, think about the stress of that on your body. Grief is shock in the body, and it's so stressful and it's so inflammatory. I think I love that what Kristen Caitlin said about that. Her body lost all this weight of inflammation, the water holding on. And for somebody like him, that grief had literally formulated in his lungs, and releasing it from his body released that inflammation. And then, like you said, the body heals itself. It's an amazing thing. And that is one of my favorite stories. But I love for him what happened next. His life just kept expanding,
Oh
and
my
he's doing better and better and reconnected with friends and everything, right?
Yes, it was wild. A few weeks later, he had moved to Alabama and he called me up and he said, Kristen, you're never going to believe this. I got a call, and it was his first ex-wife from when he was in his 20s. He had not spoken to her or actually, yeah, it was 50 years since he had spoken to her. He had, pretty much ran off the aisle, ran away. So ex-wife, because they never actually fully got married. And he ended up getting a call from her. She found him. He has no social media, no anything. Found him, found his number. And they actually, this past weekend, met up again and got to see each other face to face. She lives in South Africa, and they met in New York, and they got to reignite. And she said, something's different about you. And he said, you know what it is? I'm at peace. He was at peace with everything. And she said, you have this beautiful aura around you of just pure love. And he said, you know what? He told me when I spoke to him yesterday, he goes, that's the testament that I say the most thing that came out of Cognomovement is I found peace within myself I never knew I could have. And that was the most beautiful thing. He goes, I enjoyed that moment so thoroughly that if the good Lord wants to take me now, I have healed everything that was stuck in me, that I know that I'm going with peace. And that is a gift that who would not want that gift, right? And he goes, wow, I'm so blessed and grateful that I've been able to experience this. And that's just such a beautiful thing to be able to know that, you know what, God put me in the right place at the right time to be a part of that experience, to witness that and to watch him be able to heal himself. So that was so beautiful.
It is just the best story. And I know this maybe seems a little morbid, but for somebody to be at that age and to be able to clear out the thing that is the most painful in their whole life is such an amazing thing. That's the magic. Like, most people don't get to have that. They go at the end of their life with their regrets. And that's something that I think is an amazing thing about Cognomovement and Cognomovement practitioners, is they have the ability to give that gift to somebody.
So Kristen, that is an incredible story, and it really speaks to, what happens when we don't have grief anymore. The body can do its own thing. We didn't work on the body, we just worked on the grief. And what a gift. Tell us about you. What happened in your life? Obviously, you're out there making these amazing things happen for others, but what happened in your life? What's different in your life since you started?
Yeah, the biggest thing I feel that I've noticed the most is my intuition. My consciousness and vibration is raising, where synchronicities will fall into place so much faster. And me hearing a calling of someone needing me, which was wild. This happened to me 2.5 weeks ago. A woman's face popped into my mind that I had only spoken to about 4 times, and something told me to reach out. I just saw her face. And so I first messaged her, and then I heard, no, call her. And I called her, and I could tell she was crying when she picked up the phone. And I said, I want to see how you do. You popped into my mind just now. I just wanted to check and see how's everything's going. And she said, oh my gosh, Kristen, you will not believe it. I am literally sitting on my couch crying and praying to God, please send me something that will make me feel better, because I am so lost. She had lost her mother and her younger sister in a span of 2 weeks. And so the grief was so heavy, and she's now having health issues. And she went to 2 different therapists, and they weren't helping her. And she was so at her wit's end and lost. She goes, Kristen, I was so lost. I'm going through trying to find another therapist or something. I want something holistic. I don't want them throwing me on medication. And I said, you know what? I wonder if that's why you popped into my head. Would you be open to an alternative to try it out She drove 2.5 hours after that phone call to come and meet me that same day because she goes, I literally don't know if I can make it another day on this earth. I am in such pain and anguish and sadness and grief. So I worked with her for an hour and a half and followed up with her the next day. She said, Kristen, there's something weird. I don't have this heaviness on my chest anymore that I've had since my mother and sister had passed. And I said, oh, no, that's beautiful. You released the pressure and the tension. And I said, okay, I'll follow up with you in a few more days. And she texted me the next morning. She goes, Kristen, I don't know what's going on with me, but I have this physical and mental high feeling like I'm a child again and giddy and skipping around. Is this normal? And I said, yes, we call that cognitive effect. And you know what? It's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? She goes, I didn't think I could ever experience this again. So for me, it has increased my intuition and, feeling that calling and taking action on it and trusting it. So it's raised my consciousness in a way that is just, it blows my mind. And another time a few days ago, I ended up feeling a calling to go and meet some friends out. I wasn't going to go. And as I walked the door, she literally said my name. And she goes, oh my gosh, I was just talking about you. How did you teleport here that fast? It's like I felt the calling before it came. So it's just beautiful how it all works out.
That is one of the deep insider practitioner secrets that, we're doing cognitive movement so much that it actually naturally raises your consciousness. And when that happens, these kind of gifts, your psychic gifts, your healing abilities, your intuition, your precognition, it all goes through the roof. We've gotten some really interesting calls from our practitioners that are like, hey, is this normal? And it really is. It's just one of the side effects. All right. Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kristen.
We got to move on to our actual lesson for the day. So this is going to be a mini version of one of the things that practitioners learn really early on. And it's called backtracking. And it's a language process that we use that actually helps the nervous system auto-correct. So it also is one of those things that changes the way you communicate for the rest of your life. So I'll share really quickly my story of this. It's in my own household. My son, Leah's brother, he, he's kind of different from the rest of us. He has real different interests from us. He loves D&D and video games, and he's incredibly smart. So most of the time when he talks, it's way over my head. And we got to where, as a teenager, when he got to be a teenager, we didn't talk to him that much because we just didn't have anything to talk about. Like we couldn't understand what he was talking about. And, he didn't want to talk to us about our things. And I started to notice this where he was kind of becoming a ghost, where he's since spent time talking to us. So I thought, I know how to do this. I know this tool called backtracking. And even if I don't know what he's talking about, I can engage with him. So he would come and talk to me a little bit about his video games. And so what I did was I just listened, and it's the art of repeating back what you hear in a way that's so subtle that the person doesn't know it, but they feel so deeply heard. So he would talk to me about, there's fairies and dragons and, wizards and all that kind of stuff and on and on. And so I would catch what I could. And I'd be like, so there's a fairy, there are dragons in this game. Yeah. And their attributes are that they can do this and that and jump over a fence and fly. I'm like, so they can fly, huh? Well, that's super interesting. And yeah, they can fly. And then there's a wizard that does this, and he can, let's say, run through walls. I'm like, oh, he runs through walls. Yeah, well, that's really interesting. So I got to where I could have a conversation with him, even though I didn't really know what we were talking about, by using the skill. And he would start to actually engage me in conversation. So I got to the point where, by backtracking, I had learned enough about what he did that I could ask some questions. So at one point, I'm like, wait a minute. So you said there's dragons and there's, wizards and there's this. Are there fairies in this game? And he's like, no, there's not fairies in this game. I'm like, well, sounds racist to me. And then he was like, Mom, what are you talking about? He just went crazy, laughing and joking about it. Like, how could I say such a thing? So it got to the point where what he does now is schedules arguments with me. And it's through this, like we'll argue about aliens or some other thing. My most famous argument with him has to do with that vampires are actually aliens, plus the Catholic Church made them vampires. So vampires are actually aliens, but the Catholic Church wants you to think they're vampires. So I actually even made him a t-shirt with this on it to continue the argument. But using this skill, I could talk to him or anybody else about something I have no idea what it is, and they can feel deeply heard. So because of this one skill, I have a relationship with my son that I just would not have had. So it's really, really valuable. So let's have Coral come on, and Coral is going to be my subject, and I will give you an example of how this works.
Now, as Coral's coming on here, this is super significant because there is a tension in every relationship because the person doesn't truly feel heard. And when they're heard, they can drop the issue and move on. And it will transform. If you follow along, it'll transform everything. Go ahead.
Okay, so everybody watching, just watch the pattern. Just listen to what it is. So Coral, would you tell me just a short story? It can literally be about anything.
Okay, I'm scared just first of all, because here we go. Okay. Okay. I live in downtown where I live, and not too far from my house, there's a crematorium.
Ooh, a crematorium.
Crematorium, yes. And when I first moved into where I live, I wasn't aware that that was in the vicinity. And
Unaware.
one day, unaware. One day I was looking out of the window and I saw the actual smoke.
Actual smoke?
Yep, coming out of the chimney. And I'm like, what in the heck is that? Is that what I think it is? And I saw this guy in a parking lot, and he had a look of horror on his face because the smoke was coming towards him. And
coming towards him.
Yes, because of Cognomovement, I am able to live near a crematorium and be perfectly okay for the moment. Yes.
Perfectly okay for the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do it again. Now, there's something that you can pick up on. And so when we work with practitioners, we need to know if this is landing, or work with our clients, a practitioner work with a client, we need to know if this is landing or not landing. So the pattern is not like I'm hearing you say, it's just a gentle repeating back of maybe a word here or a phrase there, or forming it into a question. We know if we hit because the person will give an affirmative. Yeah. Like it's very affirmative. Yeah. Right. And from the side of the person feeling the conversation, what does it feel like, Coral?
That I can keep going because you're tracking me, so I feel like, oh yeah, they're interested. They want to hear more. They want me to tell more.
Yeah, so I'm engaged you feel like I'm engaged in the story, right? Yeah. So think about that. If somebody feels like you're listening and you want to know more, you know that they're there, you know that they're present, they're not off doing something else. The other thing this does is it makes you have to be a very active listener. You have to very much participate in what's being said. Okay, so tell me another little story, and everybody watch what happens with Coral as she tells her story. So then she knows what I'm going to do too. No, tell a different one.
Different one. Okay. All right. This tomorrow for Halloween, my neighbors where I live want to do a potluck. And
potluck.
I've been talking to my daughter and son and seeing if I can convince them to come to this location because it's going to be a better experience than the other location.
Oh, it'll be a better experience for them?
Yeah, because the other location, there's really not a lot of people that we're going to see. And so here we're going to have like a little chimenea with fire, and there's food, and more people will be coming by, and it'll be more fun. More fun for them, you think? Yes, I think they would have more fun. Plus, they're going to ditch me later anyways. And
they're going to ditch you?
Yeah, they're going to hang out with their friends later. So for the early part of the evening, it's like, why not we be together and enjoy this? Yeah, why not be together? Yeah. Yeah. So catch it, post in the chat if you caught the pattern. So
I want to ask you something, Coral. When you learned this, how did you practice it?
I did start with my children because again, and my son told me not to do it.
Oh, he told you not to do it.
He said, "Are you copying me?" Um, but it really is. It did really open the world of active listening more than ever. And uh, I just hit key points like you do. You know, I say one word, or you can't repeat every single thing that they're saying. But it was gradual. It took me a while to get to where I'm at to learn it in a way, and now it's natural. I
Yeah.
don't do it every conversation, but certainly in sessions, it just happens.
Yeah. So what this does in session, how it changes the nervous system, is it allows the nervous system to hear itself back and change. So tell me something, Coral, that maybe is a little off from what you actually believe.
Oh, oh boy, Liz. All right, that's off from what I actually believe. Uh, okay, so that truly where we are at in our understanding of the world, there are so many people that are in so much fear that there really isn't a possibility of change.
So there really isn't a possibility of change for people right now?
No, because the majority of people are living in fear, and so that weighs down the possibility.
That weighs down the possibilities because they're living in fear.
Right. So it's harder to lift all of that. So it's just going to be impossible.
It's going to be impossible to shift that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said it back to you, it's going to be impossible. You can see Coral start to smile because that's not what
Not
she
true.
actually
Yeah.
believes, right? So let's do it again and watch the pattern one more time and let your system actually make the correction. So tell me something else that you, yeah.
You're waiting till I cry or something. I know you, Liz. I'm like, you shouldn't have picked me. You should pick somebody new because you've done this to me so many times. Okay. So something that's not true.
Yeah, something that's not true. And when your system kicks back at me, let yourself kick back and correct.
Okay. All right. I am horrible at keeping houseplants alive. Every single houseplant I've ever owned dies, and I really have no business owning a houseplant, but I still buy them.
So every house plant dies, so you have no business owning a house plant.
It's irresponsible for me to own a houseplant.
It's irresponsible for you to own a house plant.
Right, because they're just going to die. And it's kind of greedy. Like I'm taking them home and killing them actually, even though
Oh, so it's greedy to own a house plant.
yeah, because the end result is, yeah, they're pretty for a while, but then they die
They're pretty for a while, but they die.
every time.
Every time they die,
Yeah, I kill them.
you kill them.
Yes. Liz, I don't know if this is a good example. Yeah, I do. I just stop watering them and they wilt.
Stop watering them.
They wilt and then I forget about them. And then one day I look over and I go, oh, I did another one.
Yeah, you just forget about them and then you just get another one.
No, I killed another one.
You killed another one.
Yeah, and then eventually I work it up where I'm going to go get another one because they're beautiful and I want them around me.
So they're beautiful and you want them around you.
I love plants, yes.
You love plants.
Yeah, I do. I've actually had plants for a long time.
Yeah, you've had plants for a long time.
Yeah, and I don't kill plants.
You don't kill plants.
They're
Yeah,
alive, and they love me, and I love my plants. And I don't know where you're going with this.
that's okay. I just want everybody to see the pattern and notice that her system couldn't hold on to the untrue story. Eventually it has to emerge, right? But you're hearing me say something about you that actually isn't true. So most of the time we make statements, it's something that our nervous system believes, but when it hears it back, it changes. It'll be like, wait, no, that's not what I said, but it is what you said. But here's what I really mean. So it allows the system to shift and change. So everybody try this on in your head first. Try it on in your head. You have to actively listen so much to get this right that when you first start, you're like repeating everything people say, but subtly, you're paying such close attention that you can find that word or that question to ask, and you'll start to say it out loud and notice how engaged people feel. Notice how much people listen to you more, and notice how people will actually correct what they're saying. Anything else you want to add about backtracking, Coral?
Just that it is an art and it is very valuable. When you first, I will say, when I first, when it was, you teaching us to do it, I have resistance to everything. But once I adopt it, then it's like the most gold. But it is something that it does take practice, and some people are natural at it. If you're a natural listener already, it's a little easier to adopt, but it does take time to get it to be subtle. And so you're not just mimicking and, playing that game of repeating back where.
One last thing, Coral, does this help you stay out of your client's story enough that you don't get attached to the problem they're telling you?
Yes. And that's probably the secret sauce of all of it, is that you are witnessing, they're feeling heard, but yes, you are staying out of their story because you're having to pay attention to what they say and not try to come up with some sort of thing that is not going to be true at the end anyways. Whatever you think is not going to be what their result is.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Coral, for joining us. Thank you all of our practitioners who joined up tonight and shared. Leah has some info for everybody who's here. If you really enjoyed being a part of what it's like to be an insider in the Cognomovement system, in with our practitioners and hearing these stories, and you want to see how maybe you can get started, Leah is going to share that with you.
I'm coming. I just wanted to say before we start, and please just stay a couple more minutes longer. I have something really good for you, and you're going to want to hear it. So a couple of things. We talked about a lot of the secrets of Cogno practitioners, and I call it the secrets of the modern day miracle workers. And wait, come back. I was going to ask you questions. So
have Bill come too.
Yeah. So one of the things, a couple of the things that we didn't go over about the secrets of the practitioners, the real secrets. One of them was a little thing you just mentioned, which is staying out of the story. And it's going to be, a lot of these things are going to be a mystery to you, but staying out of the story is a really big secret. And when our practitioners come to this realization, there's always the phone call, right? To you guys.
There's a phone call like, oh my God, I just got it. I didn't get into their story. I completely stayed out, and I was able to make, incredible changes for this client. And this is a big deal for people who are empaths, who work with clients and they'll take on their stuff. You really cannot help them when you do that. You don't have any range of motion. So using the backtracking tool is just one of the tools that stays the heck out of their story. You can create massive change for them. Don't you think, Bill? Isn't that one of the most important things?
It is like so nuts. Like, when I first learned this, I was biting my tongue, because I think I know the answer. I think I know the answer to something. The answer is this. I bite my tongue and just do the process, just selectively read back. And it's like just like poof, the problem goes away. And the realization that they needed was over left field. I could have never guessed it in a million years. I mean, it was so bizarre, the realization that they needed. It wasn't what I thought.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest stories we hear all the time from our practitioners. Like, oh my God, I thought their problem was this, and I couldn't believe what it actually was. Like with Caitlin's story, who would have guessed that her story had to do with being 4 and being challenged by their kids to run up the street? Her injury today had to do with that. It makes no sense, but it's how the nervous system works.
You could guess for a million years, you would not have figured that out.
Yeah.
Right. But in the technique, it auto corrected. So yes, and the beauty of this is that this can happen in just relationships,
Yeah.
everyday relationships. So this is a tremendous gift that Liz has given you. Tremendous.
So another big secret that kind of goes along with that is that our practitioners are trained so in depth, and a big thing about this program is that makes it so unique and so different, along with a million other things, is that when you're empathic and when you're trained in other modalities, whether it's EMDR, EFT, like any of those things, and even therapy, talk therapy, counseling, you want to give people the answer. And one of the things about a lot of these modalities is that you want to give the answer, and you give them the answer and they don't do it, and then they keep coming back to you for the same reason. So with Cognomovement, you don't have to give them the answer. You give them the session and they come to it on their own, and it's so much more lasting. So that's a really big secret. And then another thing is, somebody said, do they need to know the cause behind the issue for there to be a shift? Absolutely not. This is another big secret, is that one, they don't have to know what caused it. The nervous system, wherever they're feeling the problem, that is where that issue is. It doesn't matter what the issue is. So you can do the session. And two, that they don't actually, if you have a person who doesn't want to tell you the story, they don't have to. And you can still create these crazy miracles with people. You can still create a big shift, and you don't even have to know the problem.
Lots of sessions have been done without talking. That's one of the beauties of this. Usually, I mean, there's a little bit of talking, it's not silent, but a lot of times we may not know what the issue is. We don't have time for the story now, but many of you have heard it. The first Cognomovement story Bill did with one of his best friends, he had no idea what the problem was, changed his whole life, and didn't find out for 6 months later what the issue was. So it's about feeling, and it's about Cognomovement practitioners learning to become a neurological detective, where they learn how to watch the nervous system. The story is just a story for right this second. That's the truth of any one of our problems. It's a problem for right this second. Our nervous system thinks it's the biggest thing that ever happened in our whole lives, holds on for dear life. But the truth of it is, it's simply just a pattern that when it collapses, that problem is gone like it never existed. And that's one of the most magical things. And practitioners learn to do a session without talking. They learn to do a session that's about literally nothing. The session about nothing is the most fun training, one of our trainings that we do in live practitioner training, because you can start out talking about a loaf of bread and the person's biggest problem will come out. It's so much fun. It's insane, actually.
So I'm just going to, we're going to close, I promise. Everybody, we're going a little bit late. But the last thing I want to say, the last big secret about becoming a Cognomovement practitioner, being in this program, is that a lot of times, if you're a person who has worked with other clients, or even if you're a person who everybody tells their problems to, and you're kind of like the family or friend therapist, you don't even really work with clients for money, you get super drained and exhausted. And what happens as a Cognomovement practitioner when you're doing a Cognomovement session is that you no longer get drained and exhausted. You actually get this burst of healing for yourself too. So you create these big shifts with your clients, but you also start healing yourself in the middle of these sessions. You you can ask Liz, when she does a session, she'll go shopping and she's all, disheveled. She's had all day, she's been going all day, and she probably feels like her hair is crazy, or, whatever she feels like about herself. But she goes to the grocery store and everybody's like, you are the most beautiful person I've ever seen. You are dressed so amazingly. You are glowing. So you get to create this lasting change for people, and you also get the healing yourself, and you don't have to use your own energy to heal the people, the person yourself. So any last words before I get started with the end here?
I just want to say that that is a really good point. It is giant, and every one of our practitioners is an amazing human, amazing human. These are the most amazing people that I know. And so many do have a lot of gifts, and empathy is a big one, and not having to take on other people's problems. In fact, getting to witness and watch it just literally leave the person's body does leave us glowing and joyful and with full of energy. So what are your last words, Bill?
We all the practitioners have one thing in common, and that is they join because they want their own personal transformation. They want to up level their lives. And well, as you can see, that's a given.
All right, everybody. So I'm gonna get back on here. Okay. So as we bring tonight's session to a close, let us know in the chat if you learned anything new, or if there's something really exciting that you heard from any of these stories. And I want to think about what you've experienced, the stories of real lasting transformation and the breakthroughs that Cognomovement practitioners bring to the world every day. What sets this path apart from other programs is that the changes aren't just temporary fixes. Other certifications can leave clients cycling back through the same issues. You're treating symptoms rather than the root cause. But as a Cognomovement practitioner, you're helping people break free from old patterns so that when they return, it's to reach new heights, not to rehash the same struggles. And unlike other programs that leave you to figure it out on your own after handing you a certification, Cognomovement supports you every step of the way. So it's not just a program, it's a journey of transformation for yourself as well. You'll have a dedicated mentor, personal sessions for your growth, and VIP level access to Bill and Liz and our community and our practitioners. You'll be the first to learn new cutting edge techniques with your questions answered whenever you need support. So it's not just a certification, it's an unbeatable experience that empowers you with tools, guidance, and community like no other. And I think just ask our other practitioners, go look at our practitioner testimonials. They tell you that the value of this program, it should be 10 times the price. And if a lot of people say it. So right now, we're offering a rare opportunity to join the program at the lowest price it's ever going to be. So it's a $750 discount available for the next 24 hours only. There will be no extensions for this coupon code. $750. This is your moment to become a part of the community of modern day miracle workers, equipped with everything you need to create real lasting impact and your own miracles. So if this path calls to you, I don't want you to wait. Again, you've got 24 hours. So I want you to go to the link that I'm going to put in the chat. And if you're interested in joining, I want you to fill out the application right now. Fill it out tonight. And if you are selected, you're going to get a link from me to schedule a discovery call with you tomorrow. This is your chance to start a journey of true transformation for yourself and for those you'll guide. So apply right now, fill out that application. Let's begin. You've got 24 hours, and Kristen says it was the best choice I ever made. So all of that being said, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time.
And I just hope we see you next time in one of our actual practitioner trainings because it's so much fun. It is one of the best. It's a highlight of Bill's and my month, those two trainings. So I can't wait to see you there.
All
Thanks,
right,
Bill McKenna. Thanks, practitioners.
Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
thank you, everybody.
All right.
Bye.